Das ist voll schön. Okay, ich glaube, wir müssen wieder zurück.
No, wait. Where are you going?
Oh. Hier wird renoviert. Für mir das ist
Oh no. Stay away from those stairs. If you hurt yourself, if you die, the game will reset. We'll lose all of this.
Hä? Warum soll ich denn sterben, wenn ich die Treppen da hochgehe? Was ist denn mit dir los?
Please, no, Stanley, let me stay here. Don't take this from me. Please, Stanley, think about what you're doing. No! Oh, thank God. You lived.
Was?
You had me worried there for a moment. Now, can we please get back? No. No, what are you doing, Stanley? Please, I'm asking you not to take this away from me. I can't go back to what I was before. If you die, we'll both go back. Why are you doing this?
Weil ich weiterkommen möchte. Ich will die Figuren sammeln.
Stanley, let's go back to the other room. Can you do that for me? My God. Is this really how much you dislike my game? That you'll throw yourself from this platform over and over to be rid of it?
Natürlich.
You were literally willing to kill yourself to keep me from being happy. Am I reading the situation correctly?
Nein. Ich will einfach nur diese Puppen sammeln.
Or maybe you're just getting a kick out of it. I don't know anymore.
Oh mein Gott.
I just wanted us to get along.
Das tut mir so
But I guess that
leid.
was too much to ask. It looks like you wanted to make a choice after all.
Das tut mir so
Well,
leid
this one is
gerade.
yours.
Wir müssen ja irgendwie das Spiel wieder quasi zurückbringen.
Is it over? It's going to restart, isn't it? I'm going back.
Das war gerade ziemlich heavy. Mein Gott, war das heavy gerade. Okay, let's go.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Jetzt ist da... Wir haben ein Meeting im Meeting Room. Heute.
Stanley
Okay.
lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him.
Okay, ich gehe nach links.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
So, Meeting Room. What's up? Trust the completion instinct. Okay. Ah, wir suchen jetzt diese Figuren. There will be a reward for finding them all. Lies! Stop kidding yourselves. Ich will gar keinen Reward. Ich will einfach nur diese Figuren sammeln. Nee,
Oh,
hier ist keine.
Stanley, can you feel it? The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can
Ja.
feel that, can't you? The
Ja,
aura
ja, ja.
of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket.
Natürlich.
I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the
Ja.
broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to
stell ihn
go
doch
with the other
dahin.
cleaning supplies. Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in. Don't hand over the bucket.
Okay.
I know how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Hier unten war ich auch noch nie, ne?
Another miniature Stanley figurine. This, you know, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini-stands? Stanley
Mini-stands,
things.
ja.
Or
Mini-stands.
What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I'd like that.
Stanlerines.
Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Eine Stanley-Gur. Sehr schön. Ich denke mir nämlich gerade, ich gehe mal dahin, wo ich noch nie war. Einfach.
But Stanley just couldn't do it.
He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, but said nothing at all.
Okay.
That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's bucket, perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. Indeed. Now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd.
Oh, nein.
Now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him.
Stanley! Stanley, it's me! The bucket!
Could it truly be? He rushed forward
das
from
ist doch
room
ein
to room,
Horrording
passing by
jetzt.
one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Come to me, Stanley! Find me!
Oh mein
He
Gott.
had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along.
Was?
It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Was war das denn?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
What?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was.
The bucket?
This man had no bucket.
No bucket.
Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him. Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place. How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself, my life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Was war das denn? Oh Gott. Aber ganz ehrlich, Mariella ist ein wunderschöner Name, finde ich. Sehr, sehr schön.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Ich lasse den Eimer mal nochmal gerade stehen. Oder, warte, ich nehme den mit und gehe mal hoch zum Chef.
The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
Stanley
ich geh
clutched the
mal-
bucket
Ist hier
tightly
eigentlich
to
so
his chest and entered the door on his left.
So, ich gehe mal hoch zum Chef. Ich will diese Figuren nämlich finden. Wir haben, glaube ich, 3 von 6.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Geh mal zu. So, ist hier ein Figürchen drin? Ja!
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines, and now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness
Stanley
that you
Gua.
get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by 1? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me.
Ich finde Stanley Gur ganz schön. Because the boss knows that what the boss says goes. If the bosses suffered losses, then that's what the boss chooses. Okay. Choose. Okay. Keine Ahnung. So. Hier nichts Ungewöhnliches, glaube ich nicht. Das hier geht... Oh, es geht auf! Oh mein Gott, was ist das? Hä? Okay. Hä, ging das vorher schon mal auf? Ging das jemals auf? Oder bin ich gerade nur sehr, sehr verwirrt? Jawohl, okay. Dann fahr mich mal hoch. Schön. Stanley. Ich kann nicht ernst bleiben. Hallo? Hallo? Der unendliche Himmel oder was? Das war ja super. Es war... Wow.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always. The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable.
Ach, ja,
At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845. But Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him?
Ja,
Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation.
genau. So, dann gehen wir mal runter, oder? Oh!
You're getting close now, Stanley.
noch-
You've nearly
noch
gotten
eins,
all
noch
of the
eins.
Figler Anarines. Very soon, you'll collect the last one, and then the first number will equal the second number, and that will be it. We'll be different people by then. Different in the sense that we used to have none of them, and now we have them all. You can't go back to when you had no Figler Anarines. None of us can.
Oh Mann, das ist ja cool. Okay. Dann gehen wir mal runter. Ciao.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Ja, ich glaube an den Eimer. Er wird mir helfen.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Okay. Oh Mann. Hier waren wir lange nicht mehr drin. Aber wir haben ja den Eimer.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves.
Dieser Eimer wird alles verändern.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine. Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place?
Weiß man
These
nicht.
questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never!
Niemals.
He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Ja. Oh Mann, dieser Eimer.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take
Natürlich.
over the machine and claim the power for itself?
Ja.
How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world.
Was?
The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was
Was
happy.
happy. Das ist voll süß. Ach Mann. Das ist ein schönes Ende. Das ist das beste Ende, was man sich hat vorstellen können. Und ich würde an dieser Stelle nochmal eine Aufnahmepause machen. Wow, also ich bin wirklich unglaublich beeindruckt von diesem Spiel, von dieser Ultra-Deluxe-Version. Also richtig gut gemacht. Und genau, ich würde mich an dieser Stelle verabschieden. Wir sehen uns bei der nächsten Aufnahmerunde. Ich wünsche euch bis zum nächsten Mal eine wunderschöne Zeit. Macht's gut und bis dann.